There is this really fascinating tension whenever you turn on the news these days.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like you open an app or you flip on the TV and you just get hit with these massive, these sweeping national headlines. You know the ones?
Right, the housing market is crashing.
Exactly. Or real estate is at an all-time high. And it's always spoken with such absolute certainty. Like, this is the truth. This is what is happening everywhere.
Yeah, it creates this monolithic view of the world. It treats the entire U.S. housing market like it's just a single stock ticker.
Yeah.
But anyone who has actually tried to buy or sell a house recently knows that real estate is incredibly, it's stubbornly local.
Right. It's not just local to the state or even the city. It's local to the neighborhood.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's local to the specific side of the street you're on. It's like microclimates. You can't just say, the weather in America is raining just because it's storming in Seattle while it's 75 and sunny in Phoenix.
Exactly. And relying on those national averages can actually be really dangerous for you as a buyer or a seller.
Oh, completely.
If you're making decisions based on national data, you might be playing a completely different game than the one that's actually happening right in your zip code.
Which is exactly why today we are going to get hyper-local.
Let's do it.
We are totally ignoring the national aggregate. We're zooming all the way in to look at one specific ecosystem, the Viridian neighborhood.
A great area to look at.
It is.
Yeah.
Because we have a report in front of us today that tells a story you are definitely not going to hear on the national news.
It's a perfect case study, really, because it strips away all that noise and just looks at actual hard data on the ground.
Right. And to do that, we have a very specific source for today's deep dive. We are working off a report titled The Viridian Real Estate Shift, a 2026 market correction.
A very telling title.
Yeah. And this comes to us directly from John and John Baptiste.
Right. From Local Realty Agency Mid-Cities.
And what I really appreciate here is that John and John Baptiste are what I'd call boots on the ground experts.
Yes.
They aren't economists sitting in some ivory tower looking at spreadsheets from 3 months ago. They're the ones actually looking at the contracts, opening the doors and seeing what's happening in this specific zip code right now.
That perspective is crucial.
Yeah.
Because they're capturing the nuance that the algorithms just completely miss.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, an algorithm can tell you a house didn't sell, but it can't tell you why. It doesn't know if it was the smell of the carpet, the price, or just really bad listing photos.
So here is the mission for this deep dive. We are going to unpack the January 2026 numbers for the Viridian neighborhood. And I'm going to tell you right now, there is a central mystery here.
Oh, for sure.
If you just look at one or two numbers in this report, you might think, uh-oh, the sky is falling. But if you look at the whole picture, as the Baptistes have laid it out for us, it's a totally different story.
It really is.
The question we're answering today is the market crashing or is it just changing?
And that distinction, the difference between a crash and a structural change, is probably the single most important thing a homeowner needs to understand right now.
Just to avoid making a costly mistake.
Exactly.
Okay, to kick this off, I want to hit you with this statistic that honestly made me do a double take when I read it.
Let's hear it.
It's the days on market number. This is the speed of the game. How fast does a for sale sign actually turn into a sold sign?
It's the heartbeat of the market. It tells you instantly who has the leverage, the buyer or the seller.
So let's look at the timeline provided by John and John Baptiste. We're going back 2 years to start. January 2024. If you put your house on the market in Viridian back then, how long did it take to sell?
On average, you were looking at about 26 days.
26 days. That is incredibly fast.
It is.
That is basically put it up on the first of the month, pack your boxes by the end of the month.
It's a total sprint. In that kind of market, you barely even have time to keep the house clean for showings.
Right.
You list it, you get a massive flurry of activity, multiple offers, and boom, you're under contract.
Yeah.
It creates this huge sense of immediate gratification for the seller.
Okay, so fast forward 1 year, January 2025.
It slowed down just a little bit. We went up to 37 days.
Okay.
Still very healthy, still pretty quick.
Yeah.
You can see the brakes tapping just a tiny bit, but it absolutely still felt like a seller's market.
Okay, now we arrive at today, or, well, the data from January 2026. This is the number that jumped right off the page at me.
69 days.
69 days.
That is a very significant jump.
It is massive. That is more than double where we were just 2 years ago. We went from less than a month to over 2 months.
And we really have to pause here and think about the psychology of that.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Because numbers on a page are one thing, But the actual human experience of selling a home is another entirely.
Right, the stress of it.
Exactly. In 2024, if your house sat for 3 weeks, you automatically assume something was terribly wrong. Now, imagine it's January 2026, you list your house. 2 weeks go by, nothing.
Crickets.
4 weeks go by, maybe 1 or 2 showings. 6 weeks, you're starting to panic. You're pacing the floors asking, what is wrong with my house? Why isn't anyone buying it?
You start questioning everything. Is it the paint color? Is it the price? Is the whole market just dead?
Exactly. But according to the data from John and Nikki Baptiste, nothing is necessarily wrong. The rhythm has just fundamentally changed.
The baseline shifted.
Right. If your expectation is set to that 2024 speed, then 2026 feels like an absolute disaster. But if you look at the data objectively, 69 days is just the new normal.
It's like we've shifted gears from a sprint to a marathon.
Precisely. And the source explicitly calls this a major shift. I think that language is really important. They aren't sugarcoating it for us.
No, not at all.
They aren't saying, oh, it's just a little seasonal blip. No, it's a shift in the fundamental pacing of the transaction. The era of blink and it's sold is officially over in Viridian.
So if I'm a seller, I need to be adjusting my patience levels, but it's not just patience, is it? It's actual financial planning.
It absolutely is. You need a budget for holding cost.
The invisible cost.
Yes. Mortgage payments, HOA fees, utilities, paying someone to keep the lawn perfect, the stress of keeping the house show ready. If you are banking on selling in 30 days to finance your next move, and it actually takes 70 or 90 days, that can put you in a serious financial bind.
That's a really great point. The cost of waiting is real money out of your pocket.
Okay, so the market is slower. That's fact number 1. Now, usually when things slow down this much, people automatically assume prices are tanking.
Always.
So let's talk about the money. Let's get into the price discussion.
The part everyone cares about most.
John and Nikki Baptiste provided the median price changes, and this is where the story gets really nuanced. Because if you just look at the last year, it looks like a drop.
It does. Visually, if you put it on a chart, the line is pointing down.
In 2025, we saw a hard spike. The median price hit $584,950. That was the absolute peak.
Almost $600K. That was a very high watermark for the neighborhood, likely driven by low inventory and incredibly high demand at that specific moment. But then we look at January 2026. The median price has settled back down to $513,750.
So that's roughly a $70,000 drop in the median price from that peak.
See, and that is the exact number that makes people panic.
Oh, absolutely.
If you bought at the peak, or if you were tracking your home's value on Zillow every single day in 2025, you're looking at that and thinking, we are crashing, I've lost $70,000.
Right.
But the Baptistes are very specific about the terminology they use here. They say, and I'm quoting, that's not a crash, that's a correction after a spike.
And that distinction is vital. We have to look at the shape of the curve over time. A crash implies a loss of fundamental value.
Like the neighborhood is going downhill.
Exactly. Like the neighborhood is deteriorating or major employers are leaving the city and there is no bottom in sight.
Right.
A correction, on the other hand, especially a correction after a spike, implies that the previous number was perhaps just unsustainable. It was a sugar high.
A sugar high. I really like that analogy. The market just had way too much caffeine in 2025.
Exactly. The market got a little ahead of itself in 2025.
Okay.
Prices jumped hard, to use the source's language. What we are seeing now isn't the floor falling out. It's gravity doing its job.
It's just coming back to earth.
It's the market finding a sustainable equilibrium where buyers can actually afford to participate again.
It's a balancing act.
Right. And if you zoom out further than just that one-year spike, you realize that $513,750 is likely still a very strong number historically for the Viridian area. It just feels low compared to the absolute frenzy of 2025.
So the listener takeaway here, specifically if you own a home in Viridian right now, is don't panic. The sky isn't falling. You haven't actually lost $70,000 unless you bought exactly at the peak and sold exactly today.
Which is very rare.
Right. The market is just shaking off that caffeine rush from last year and settling into a more realistic groove.
It's finding its footing. And honestly, a stable market is often much healthier in the long run than a volatile spiking market. It allows for more predictable planning for everyone involved.
Okay, so let's review where we are. We have slower sales taking about 69 days. We have prices coming down from a peak to roughly $513,200.
Correct.
If I stop the deep dive right here, you'd assume the market is just dead, right? You'd assume nobody's buying anything.
That would be the logical conclusion. Slower speed plus lower prices usually equals zero demand.
But, and this is why I love this specific report from John and Nikki Baptiste, there is a massive twist in the data. This is what I'm calling the inventory paradox.
This is where it gets fascinating.
Yeah.
This is the part that completely defies standard real estate logic.
The source notes that in January 2026, despite the slow pacing, despite the price correction, 16 homes closed.
16 homes.
And here is the kicker. That volume of closed homes is actually higher than last year.
Wait, let's just pause on that for a second. So prices were higher last year and homes sold faster last year, but more homes actually sold this year.
Yes. It's completely counterintuitive. You'd think 2025 would have had more volume because it was hotter. But January 2026 saw more deals actually cross the finish line.
So what explains that? Because that breaks the standard rule of hot market equals high volume.
Well, the Baptistes have a very clear theory on this. They say in the report, buyers didn't disappear, they just became selective.
Selective. That is a very powerful word in this context.
And to understand why they can be selective, we have to look at the competition. We have to look at the inventory stats.
Okay, hit me with the inventory numbers.
2 years ago, there were 35 homes on the market.
Okay, so scarce. If you wanted a home in Viridian, you had to fight tooth and nail for it.
Today, currently, there are 61 homes on the market in Viridian.
Wow. That is almost double the inventory.
So connect the dots for us. We have more inventory, 61 homes. We have lower prices at $513K, and we have higher sales volume with 16 closings. What is the picture this paints?
It paints a picture of a buyer's buffet.
A buffet.
Think about it. 2 years ago, with only 35 homes, if a buyer wanted into the neighborhood, they had to take whatever was available. They had to scramble.
Beggars can't be choosers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They couldn't be picky because there was nothing to be picky about. Oh, you don't like the kitchen tile. Too bad, take it or leave it because I have 5 other offers.
Right. You eat what's on the plate.
But now, there are 61 options. The buyers are absolutely still there. We know they are there because 16 of them closed deals. They are active. They have money.
Yep.
But they're walking into a market where they can look at 5 different houses on a Saturday, compare the finishes, compare the backyards, compare the price per square foot, and just pick the absolute best one.
They have the power of choice now.
They have all the leverage. So they aren't disappearing, but they are taking their time.
Yes.
Hence, the 69 days on market, they are looking at 61 homes and only choosing the best 16.
Oh, I see. So the 69 days isn't just nobody is looking. It's that people are looking, but they are taking 69 days to decide because they actually can.
Exactly. And they are negotiating. When you have 60 other competitors as a seller, the buyer can sit back and say, well, if you won't fix the roof, the guy down the street probably will.
That leads us perfectly into the next section of the Baptiste report. They call this the shift in dynamics.
It certainly is a shift.
They use 3 phrases to describe the current environment in Viridian. More competition, more negotiation, more strategy required.
And that word strategy is the pivot point for this entire deep dive. Because the game has changed, the rules for winning have to change too.
There is a quote in the source material that I highlighted in yellow, then I circled it, then I put a big star next to it. It's about the mindset of the seller.
I think I know the exact one you mean.
John and Nikki Baptiste wrote, the sellers who win in 2026 won't be the hopeful ones, they'll be the strategic ones.
Hopeful versus strategic. That is profound.
Let's unpack that. What does a hopeful seller look like in Viridian right now?
A hopeful seller is someone living in the past. A hopeful seller looks at their neighbor who sold for $585,000 last year and says, well, my house is just as nice, so I'll list it for $590,000 and just hope someone falls in love with it.
They are hoping the market hasn't changed.
Right. They are hoping for that one unicorn buyer who doesn't look at the data, doesn't have a realtor advising them, and just pays whatever they ask.
Which is a huge gamble.
It is. They are hoping that if they just wait long enough, the price will come. But in a market with 61 other options and savvy, highly selective buyers, hope is not a strategy. Hope is how you end up sitting on the market for 120 days.
And what happens when a house sits for 120 days?
It becomes stale. Buyers see that days on market number ticking up, and they automatically assume something is wrong.
Is there a foundation issue? Is there a hidden lawsuit?
Exactly. Even if the house is absolutely perfect, the time on market itself damages the perceived value, and then you end up chasing the market down with endless price cuts.
Ouch. Yeah, chasing the market down is the worst position to be in. You cut to where you should have started, but by then, nobody even cares.
It really is. It's a total downward spiral.
So, flip the script for us. What does the strategic seller look like in this 2026 correction?
The strategic seller accepts the data provided by local experts like the Baptistes. They look at that $513,000 median, and they understand that is the new reality. They ask the question the source posed. How do you position yourself inside this market?
Positioning. That sounds like marketing speak, but what does it actually mean for a homeowner on a practical level?
It means acknowledging that you are in a beauty contest with 60 other contestants. Positioning means your house has to look better, show better, or be priced sharper than the competition. You can't just be average anymore.
Because average just sits on the market.
Average becomes part of the inventory that doesn't sell. Remember the math we just talked about, 16 sold. But there are 61 on the market. That means roughly 45 homeowners are still just waiting around.
Wow, yeah.
That's an absorption rate of only about 25%. 3 out of 4 homes are just sitting there. The strategic seller does everything humanly possible to be in the group of 16, not a group of 45.
And that goes right back to the price correction. You can't price for the 2025 spike in the 2026 correction market. That's just math.
It is. And it's painful math if you're really banking on that equity. Nobody likes to sell for less than their neighbor did last year.
Of course not.
But the strategic seller realizes that selling at $515,000 today is way better than holding out for $580,000 that never comes and eventually selling for $490,000 6 months from now because the listing became stale.
That is the key right there. It's about minimizing loss and maximizing the probability of a sale.
Exactly. Strategy means pricing it right from day one to capture those selective buyers immediately. You want to be the shiny new object on the buffet that everyone wants to grab first.
It really is a fascinating shift. It's not that the opportunity is gone, it's just that the difficulty setting has been turned up.
That's a great way to put it. In 2024 and 2025, real estate in Viridian was on easy mode for sellers. Put a sign in the yard, get multiple offers over asking, and you're done. Now we are on normal mode, or maybe even hard mode.
You have to earn it.
You have to actually work for the sale, you have to negotiate, you have to prepare the home properly, you have to market it aggressively.
And you have to have the right information.
Which is exactly why sources like this report from Local Realty Agency Mid-Cities are so incredibly valuable. If you don't know the days on market has jumped to 69, you'll panic at day 30. If you don't know the median price corrected, you'll wildly overprice your home. Information is the antidote to that anxiety.
I think that is the perfect place to start wrapping this up. We've covered a lot of ground in a short time, and we've thrown a lot of numbers at you.
We certainly have.
Let's recap the 3 pillars of the Viridian shift for anyone listening who might be driving or doing the dishes right now.
Sure thing. Pillar number 1 is patience. The market has slowed down. The cycle is now 69 days, not 26. Adjust your timeline expectations accordingly. Do not panic if you don't sell in the first week.
Right. Plan for the marathon, not the sprint.
Pillar number 2 is realistic pricing. We are in a correction, not a crash. The 2025 spike is over, and prices have safely settled back to around $513,000. That is the reality you are operating in. Ignore the sugar high of last year.
And pillar number 3.
Selectivity. Buyers are active. Remember, sales volume is actually up, but they are incredibly picky because they have 61 homes to choose from. They are looking for the best value and the best condition.
Which brings us back to that winning mindset we talked about. Don't be hopeful, be strategic.
Absolutely. Do the work to be part of the 25% that sells, not the 75% that just waits.
Again, I really want to give full credit to the source of this deep dive. These insights came specifically from the market analysis provided by John and Nikki Baptiste at Local Realty Agency Mid-Cities. They are the ones tracking these exact numbers month over month.
And providing that clarity in a very confusing time. It really shows the value of having someone who actually understands the local microclimate rather than just relying on national news.
Now, before we go, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. We talked about how 16 homes closed in January, but there are 61 homes on the market. That means only about 1 in 4 homes actually moved.
Right. 1 in 4.
So here's the question for you. If buyers are being that selective, what specifically separated those 16 homes from the ones still sitting? Was it just price? Was it staging? Was it the layout, the paint color, the curb appeal? In a market like this, the difference between sold and for sale isn't luck. It's a specific, hidden variable.
It highly suggests that good enough is just no longer good enough. You have to be exceptional in some metric, whether that's price or condition, to be the one they actually pick.
Exactly. The average home is the one that sits. The exceptional value is the one that sells. Something to think about if you're planning to put a sign in your yard this year. Are you positioning yourself to be exceptional?
Indeed. A tough question, but a very necessary one.
That's it for this deep dive on the Viridian market. Stay curious, stay strategic, and we'll see you next time.
Goodbye, everyone.